Hey everybody, it is. Every year I kind of go through and just do a bit of a list about how much or how little I like all the different knife companies. This year I'm doing it in a tier list format. So a tier list is like from fighting games use them a lot, where you has a list of your favorite, with all the characters from best to worst, and it's usually done like fairly objectively. So the S characters are most likely to find success, and the F characters are least likely to find success if put in the hands of a capable player. So what's different in this one to that concept is that there is no level of scientific basis to this at all. It is just my feelings, and so I'm just going to go through and give some short reasons why they are in the places that they are. If you're concerned, if you should be particularly bothered about what my feelings are about knife companies, and whether you should get upset if your feelings differ from mine, the probable thing to think of while you're watching this video is that I'm not even wearing pants, like I'm just literally sitting down. So that gives you some idea of where I am in the industry. A guy in his house, in his jocks, making a knife tier list video. So that's what you're looking at. So don't get upset. Just make your own. If you don't like where I put Schrade, then make your own one with Schrade at the top and tell us all why. So let's get started. What you've got here in front of you is all the knife brands down the bottom. Now, I didn't get every knife brand because I don't really have an opinion on a lot of knife brands. So if there's a knife brand you see here or you don't see here that you're wondering why, it's because I probably either haven't had a knife from them or I don't really think about them too much at all. And I went through the lists on like the retailers of all the all the knife companies, and I was like, yes, no, don't know. And I've got this bunch here that I'm pretty happy with having a feeling about. So let's get to it. Let's get started with I always like to have a lame duck every year, and this year's lame duck is, couldn't even find their logo on a big enough image, because you know why? Quartermaster has effectively vanished. How much money of everyone they took before they vanished, I'm not sure. I know they had like a Q collection thing going on where you could subscribe to something. They've more or less ghosted everyone on social media. The website's gone. They always had this stigma about that they weren't making their knives in America, even though everything was saying that they were 110% made in USA and Dripping Springs, Texas, where they've got a knife museum. And it was just one of those lies, I think, that just got too big in the end. And so yes, they've kind of unceremoniously vanished. So they're going to sit at the bottom of the F tier. No other company is going to be as fail as that this year. Now I'm just going to go through the list that I've populated here. Let's grab Gerber. So none of the rest of them are terrible, except for maybe one. Gerber is not terrible. Gerber, the reason it's sitting here in D, right, is because Gerber's whole range is so badly diluted by just weird Chinese knives that kind of just flashes in the pan that never kind of come back again. Lots of 5CR, mystery steel sort of blades. Gerber really needs to separate their US brand from their Chinese manufacturing. That's my opinion anyway, because Gerber's US stuff, if it was just that, they'd be like probably up here. They've got good designs, they've got decent materials, not the best. Usually they're pretty competitively priced, but it's just that as a brand, the dilution by the garbage is just drags them down in my opinion. Alma, I'm going to put you in C. Alma is making knives for a lot of money with pretty middling materials. They've only just branched down into some D2. So, welcome to the 60s. We've got D2 in their knives now. But yeah, Alma make great designs, very thin. Everything else about them is done really well, but the materials are just not quite up to the price. So, like an Alma Falcon Ultralight's like $130 for AUS 8 and micarta. So. Benchmade. Now, Benchmade have had a rough year. So their founder passed away the other day, which was sad. And it was on the heels of all this gun stuff. And I mean, in Australia, this gun stuff doesn't really make as much sense to me as it does to maybe all of you guys over there, whichever side of it you're on. But wow, they've had a year. They can't post anything without, the people wandering into the comments and Bitchmade and something about guns, and it's full on. But that hasn't really affected how I feel about them, because I just use their knives. And their knives are quite nice. I like their axis locks. I like their designs. You've got a couple of weird ones. They've had a couple of issues with their steels, but then they've kind of fixed them by either making the steels harder, or they've changed the steels, or whatever that was with their 3V that got relatively heavily spoken about. But Hey, you saw that other one break a coconut in half the other day? That was kind of cool, wasn't it? Soft steels, maybe, coconut steels, who knows? Boca I like less than Gerber. Boca are probably one of my least favourite companies, and it's mainly just because, again, like Gerber, they've got such massive dilution across their range of lots of Chinese stuff. And their German stuff, whilst I acknowledge is high quality, it's often just traditional sort of stuff and kitchen knives and things like that, which just don't speak to me. So they're not a bad company, they're just my least favourite, probably. One of them anyway. CIKT, I got a spot in my heart for CIKT. I think as a company they're pretty consistent, pretty reliable, but they're reliable and they're going to make like low to mid-range stuff. I think they're thinking about branching out into the upper range, which is nice. They did that really bizarre, massive, heavy, super fancy knife, the XOC, last year, which might be a sign of things to come. As it is now, they seem to be moving to D2, just like Alma, so finally found some D2 somewhere to make the knives out of. But yeah, overall, you do fine with the CIKT knife. It's just never going to be anything that's going to hold pride of place, in my opinion. Zero Tolerance. Now, Zero Tolerance, I generally quite like a lot of their knives. I'm not interested in a lot of them as well, so I've never been super stoked on like the really big chunky like Ken Onion ones from the old days. Some people love them. If you do, that's great. The newer stuff I wasn't that into the 0223, and just as a company they're known for being a little bit prickly. And then they did this ad. It was like,
we're hardened, forged in fire. Titanium runs through our veins. We're built to experience whatever life throws at us.
It was like whoever designed it obviously thought they were being Don Draper, but in reality they were being a bit more like Fry in Futurama when he hangs around with that 80s businessman who got thought out.
Work on your executive speak. I'm worried about blank.
Fry, we're worried about Planet Express.
Don't you worry about Planet Express. Let me worry about blank.
It's an obscure reference for you, but yeah, it's... but yeah, they make a fine knife mechanically. I always find their grinds a little bit fat behind the edge, but then a lot of these companies have issues like that, so it's not really exclusive to them. Bark River are fine. I prefer, you kind of like Falkneven or Bark River. I like Falkneven a little bit more than Bark River. Sorry, you just do. But they're fine. I've never really had a terrible experience with Bark River. They accidentally sent me a mislabeled knife once, but they've made good on that. Apparently they do a lot of like you can go there and make a knife and all that sort of community sort of stuff. I don't know much about the inner workings of the company. You read stuff on forums, but you can read stuff on forums about all these guys. So by all means, if you have an adverse opinion on them, then as long as you researched it, then whatever. Buck I like probably about here, there. So Buck I like well done stuff, I think, generally, with some fit and finish issues. Like often the grinds are a little bit off, but not terribly. And Buck are known for always making good if there's like a warranty issue or something like that. So, and they're generally known as good people and just a solid company. So they're just not to my taste. They're kind of more hunting Uncle Randy focus, which is cool. The Buck Marksman's cool. That's a cool knife if you want a modern buck. Look at that one, the Buck Marksman. Cold Steel. So Cold Steel have risen in the ranks to me. They're my first top tier knife company. And I know they're Cold Steel and like they've got their detractors, but no one is quite like Cold Steel out of this batch. One of the reasons I like them is because they make all the crazy stuff and they make it well. Like, has anyone bought a Polish mace? I mean, I haven't, but they still make it. And that's kind of cool. You're kind of got to admire them. Like, none of these other companies, except for maybe CIKT, they make some weird stuff as well. But none of these other guys make like Polish maces, shields. I'm waiting for Cold Steel to make some nunchucks. I bet they will. I bet they will soon. Anyway, and another thing about Cold Steel, more seriously, is that out of all these companies, Spyderco included, I would say that the edge finish and the heat treatment on Cold Steel for a factory production company is the most consistent and reliable. I would argue that you're most likely to have a Cold Steel from the box with a good edge that lasts a good long time. Chris Reeve knives, a bit like the Radiohead of the knife world, aren't they? Got to sort of, if you're a knife guy, you got to kind of pay him. Yeah, you got to pay him respect. You know. Oh yeah, Radiohead. Oh yeah, I love that. Love OK Computer. Yeah. Chris Reeve. Yeah. You know, you really got to respect the Sebenza. Yeah, that's kind of how it is. And they're fine. Like, they're a fine company. Just, I've never had a Chris Reeve. That's where they're going. I've had several Chris Reeves. I've never had one that I've been like, this must stay here. I can't be without it. The money is just too much for me. And if it's not for you, then that's all good. But for me, it just is. Everything else about them is fine. Like, just where I am as a consumer. Folk, Neven. I'm tempted to put them in the A's, but I'm not going to, because their knives are frankly too expensive, and it's a weird business model. They're all made in Japan, but then it's like, so it's Folkneven Sweden, every knife made in Japan. Like Spyderco, like they're all made of Hitachi steels. No, not Hitachi. Yeah, they're all made of like laminated COS VG10, Kaori X, which is ZDP 189. So they're all made of Takafu and Hitachi style Japanese steels, probably in the same places, in the same districts at least that the Spydercos are made, and then sent back to Folkneven, and then they're super Swedish. It's a bit like how Cold Steel, super America, you know, but then everything's made in Taiwan. It's funny how brands can do that, isn't it? Not that that's a bad thing about the brand, just an interesting observation. Steel Will, runner-up for most embarrassing ad campaign. I am my will. Yeah. Steel Will are fine. They're like there for me. A couple of nice knives, Modus and the Cut Jack. Haven't seen anything they've made recently that I was that into though. So they're about there. K-Bar are about, overall, they're about there. Yes, they're there. Because K-Bar has some okay folders, got some good fixed blade knives. Haven't really done much lately that I've particularly liked. So they're sitting comfortably in that in the midriff of the thing, you know. It's definitely in the middle, you know. It's halfway there. Kershaw. I like them a little bit more than ZT because they are starting to move up with the materials, having some decent designs. The launch stuff seems to be going really well. They've got that new Balisong. That's a good move. You know, people love them, and they're selling it for like under $150. Like, that's rare for like a knife branded Balisong that's not from a gas station or petrol station, as we call them here. So yeah, they're fine. I just don't have too much Kershaw. I've had some of their budget stuff, which have all been really good. Kershaw Atmos could be the best budget knife that I think you can get for like under $30 or $40 or whatever. But yeah, they're about there. Hogue are fine. They make knives well. People who like Hogue, it's been cropped horribly. People that like Hogue love Hogue. They're kind of like Bucker for like your Uncle Randy's. Hogue are like for your tactical bros, because they tick all those boxes. You know, they're American made. They've got sort of that whole military law enforcement sort of backing. They make a toilet seat as well. So all sorts of reasons why tactical bros like Hogue knives, and tactical bros are a completely valid arm of the knife fandom. So they're just not for me because, I don't know, just don't speak to me, that's all. LT Wright. I'm putting LT Wright in the A class. I've been going a lot lately about getting yourself a custom knife, seeking out a custom knife, like seek yourself out a small maker. That's a lot of work. It sucks to have to do that because you don't know who's good and who's not, and the ones that are good are generally, sorry, I'm not making right now, sorry, I can't keep up. So avoid all that and go and get an LT Wright knife. If you want something just like a good, more traditional sort of bushcrafty style knife, LT Wright will make you something. It'll be, I would enjoy it more than a Bark River. I like it about as much as a Folkneven, but the company are just lovely people, and they are very kind of decent, and they've got like a little pout house group that they, so if you're a fan, they reward you for being a fan, which is always cool as well. So I'm going to put them in the A list because someone needs to be there, you know. Ontario, I like Ontario just fine. They make like good, reliable stuff that's never going to be too nice, you know. Ding. Stuff that's never going to be like you know, show and shine, majestic, anything like that. The materials are always going to be rudimentary, but the prices are always going to be fair. So I like Ontario. I like the RTAC 2. I like the Dan Maragni Spec Plus line. They're all good. And of course the Rat 1, the Rat 2, water pair of staples. Protec are good. I like Protec about here. Really enjoying the Cambria, which is a knife that I got sent by Chris. Thank you, Chris. Big fan. They seem like nice people. They're well regarded in the industry, as far as I can tell, by my other reviewer friends. And yeah, I would just like to have more of their knives, but I can't because Australia is a bit funny about knives you can open by pushing a button, and that is a lot of Protec's catalogue. So, harumph, I say. Rake, they're fine. They're like here. Rake make a good budget knife, just kind of almost overdosing a little bit on those sorts of companies that are all obviously made by San Renmu in that same factory or district or whatever, but they're fine. Rake are good. There's a couple of really good Rake knives. Schrade is probably the worst knife company at the moment, like the worst one with a big name. Schrade just tanked it when they got bought out by was it Remington or Smith & Wesson or one of those companies. They used to have such goodwill in the community. They've never made things like, they've never competed with Bark River, obviously, but they used to just do good, pretty, competent AUS 8, HCR13 knives, and then they've kind of moved towards like real sort of trashy looking knives now, like with all spring assisted, all odd angles and stuff like that. So lost all interest in Schrade. SOG are good. They're getting better. They're going here because SOG are starting to amp up the materials. They're starting to amp up the designs a bit. Their knives are still too expensive. Their fixed blades are all still made of like AUS 8 and stuff, and they're all about the same price as Falcon Evens often. So not quite there with their fixed blades, but they are definitely doing better. Kaiser are fine. Kaiser are about up here. Yeah, that's good. I'm happy with Kaiser there. You just kind of get a bit of drowning in those all grey Kaisers, aren't you? Well, that's how I feel anyway. And I'll get to Wii because they got a similar problem. When you release that many knives each year, they're no longer sort of as special. And again, all intangible. All this stuff I'm talking about. It's not, you can't measure any of this. It's just how I feel. Don't tell me how to feel. Emerson. I like Emerson about that much. And you know what? It's like every knife dude at heart has that, like when they were 10 and they used to get like a stick and they used to prance around in front of their bedroom mirror learning like lightsaber fights or whatever. Like every dude's got that whole, knives are tools, but they're also kind of cool and dangerous and like weapony a bit, aren't they? And like I always like to think if I had like, you got these 2 game save files. So you got like Grand Theft Auto, right? Your life is like a game, right? First save file, you do everything properly. You go through life. You get like you integrate into society. You do fine. You get a job. You're generally pleasant to everyone. You don't play music on your phone out of the speaker on the bus. You just live a normal life. I'd love to have a separate save file, like in Grand Theft Auto, where you just use all the cheat codes and just kind of do what you want. If it was like, could I have like a second version of me, it would be like an Ernest Emerson kind of dude who goes around the country giving seminars on how to roundhouse kick people and like make these knives that are all just, all my knives are weapons, he says. Some of them are EDC, but you just figure out which ones. Because, there's an appeal to them. I like the designs. I like the guy. It's stupid, it's intangible, but that's where he's landed. Right, Essie. Essie, like, kind of similar in temperament, I find. I'm loving Essie lately because they've been nagged to death by nerds like us.
What has been our #1 customer request for us?
People have been asking for us to do some models in S35V.
Or at least some kind of premium steel.
Yeah.
Jeff and...
They're like, fine, we'll make some knives in
premium steel.
S35 VN steel, here your majesty. And they'll do like a video where they'll just say, cool, so here's the S35 VN knives, like you guys all wanted.
I broke it.
Our 1095 knives are just fine though, and they're the tough ones. We'll warrant the S35 ones, but the 1095 ones, they're the proper ones, okay? Like, these are fine. Just get these if you have to, but get these if you want, what we think. So, and it's just hilarious. And they've turned a real corner, like engaging with all of us nerds as well. They used to have a bit of an open disdain for like the goobers behind the computers, and they might still, but at least I always say, I don't care if you like me or not, just be nice to my face. That's the best way to get through life, and I think that's what they're doing. It's good. Victorinox, who doesn't have a soft spot in their heart for Victorinox? They are everyone's first knife, pretty much. They do some weird stuff. I've got a Victorinox Outdoor Master, right? It's their new fixed blade knife. taken this long to make like a fixed blade. And they've got like Muella to make it, this Spanish knife maker to make it. It just makes sense, which is a fine knife, but well, you've got all that money and all those all that floor space. I don't get it, but it's fine, but it's like, it just baffled me, that one. And yeah, they kind of seem to struggle with innovation a little bit. They're happy sitting a little bit like Case, who we'll get to later, kind of happy just being all like, hey, our people are our people, that's who we make knives for. Every now and then we'll have a play, try and do something a bit different, but otherwise, we don't care too much. Real Steel, another kind of like Chinese brand that makes some fine knives, if you can find one after sifting through all the code names that they pass for real names. Although the Metamorph, which does have a real name, was good. The Metamorph G5 was a good knife. Spyderco, okay. So Spyderco, I'm still putting up the top because I am a Spyderco fanboy. As everyone always points out, yes, you haven't discovered anything. Well, I openly wear that. I'm not sure if I'm liking them more or less than Cold Steel this year. They're doing some cool nerd stuff that I like. So they've got new steels coming out. They've got their own steel, and you listen to Eric give like a monologue about cobalt in steel. It's like a nerd's dream. So that's cool. Their new designs this year aren't as strong as they have had in past years, I would argue, but their lightweighting of everything is kind of okay. Their iteration of everything is okay. I'm not a fan of sprint runs. I must join the Shabazz chorus on that one, only because a big part of my enjoyment of the knife hobby is talking to everyone about it. And I hate being one of those people who's like, look what I've got, and you don't. Hey, good luck on the secondary market, man. It doesn't appeal to me at all. And also, though you do a sprint run in a steel, that in my opinion, you put a good steel on a knife so you can enjoy that steel. But the minute something is scarce, people are going to be hesitant to use that. Like, that's what I don't understand. They should do their sprint runs in cool colours and just put them all in 440C. Like, Right. We Knife Co., they make better knives than all the other ones, than like Rake and all them. And they probably make better knives than Kaiser. But they're just like, they're killing us. They've got so many coming out all the time. It's impossible to keep track. Being a Wii fan would be a full-time job. So, like, where do you start? The older Wii knives also were horribly thick behind the edge, just like chunky boys. I saw on Spade Knife Works Instagram, he'd sharpened one and he'd put one of his amazing edges on, but he got to the tip, and the tip was like mirrored like half a centimetre in. It was so thick. Anyway, but good machining, good quality, very kind of by the numbers, heat treatment, by the numbers, blade designs, but yeah, they've got like an edge to them, I guess, over a lot of the other Chinese stuff. And they seem to do good work helping people make their knife design dreams come true. Like everyone's mate Ben from Blade HQ. Alright, Great Eastern Cutlery I like about here because I'm not a huge traditional fan, but I acknowledge that they do good work and have high quality products. That's all I have to say about that. And Case, kind of like Victorinox, but less appealing to me. I like Case not too much at all. Because Case guys are like, are you a knife fan or are you a Case knife fan? They rarely, or often, those Venn diagrams only intersect in a small part, because I know guys who collect Case knives and that's it, and they don't care for any of these other brands at all. So Case kind of play to that crowd a lot, like the collector crowd who know what all the codes and the X's and the symbols mean and the stars and everything. So I'm just not that person, so Case do not make knives for me. But they aren't terrible, they're just not for me. Lion Steel. Lion Steel make some great fixed blades and some pretty okay folders. Lion Steel have issues with having far too thick edges on their blades. Every time I've had a Lion Steel, even if it's in a great steel, the edge doesn't last too long because they grind their bevels like this. Whereas they should be ground like this. A bevel like this will take a lot longer to mushroom out than a bevel like this. So that's something I'd love to see them fix. I'm not as bothered about factory heat treat. There's been talk all year about factory heat treat. I am just of the mind, if I want good heat treat, I will seek out a custom maker, or I will shop with Cold Steel or Spyderco, who generally get it right a bit more. Any of the other companies want to join those elite too, then they just need to do a concerted effort into their heat treat. But I have a lower expectation with my factory knives, as long as you can feel some difference between, say if you buy a line steel in M390 and you have a line steel in D2, as long as you can notice some difference between that M390 and that D2. Some though would argue that you can't still, so I get it, I do totally get it, but for me, I just shop. Yeah, if I am after something that I want to take to the knife lab and clean house, then I just shop for that. So that's my tier list. How do you like it? You can I'll put a link to this in the description of this video. You can make your own if you want. If you're a knife channel, you could even do your own little video like this. Get one camera and point it at your face, and you get screen record on your computer on QuickTime, and record your screen. Sync it up, speak over it. Bob is your uncle and Fanny is your aunt. And there we are. So that's where it all sits. I'm pretty happy with it looking over it. I can't see anything too controversial there, but I'm sure someone will find something. At any rate, my friends, thank you very much from the news desk. I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye now. Bye-bye.